Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Wrestle Plug podcast. It is time for our weekly State of Wrestling address. Yes, indeed, as you know, every Thursday / Friday / whatever day we can get it out during this fucking pandemic, we discuss the week's wrestling topics, and my God, have we had plenty to talk about in the last week. I am your host, Aaron Nix, the harbinger of professional wrestling, the host, the co-host, the supreme host, the owner and purveyor of all things Wrestle Plug. And joining me to discuss a very morbid day in wrestling is the most morbid host we've ever had, Kyle Wilkinson.
Oh, sir, you say such nice things.
Hello, darkness, my old friend.
We've got a lot to talk about, folks, and spoiler alert, most of it is pretty sad. So sit back and enjoy.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the good news is, but there really isn't much. So we're all struggling. Coronavirus has gripped many a nation, and it seems that America has finally been hit pretty hard, a lot later than most of the European countries and China, etc. So here we are, and unfortunately WWE has made the choice, the executive decision to cut a numerous amount of staff, release them from contracts, and essentially take them out of gainful employment. Carl Wilkinson, I believe you have the full list of individuals that have been removed or have been released from WWE. We don't know which ones have the option to be furloughed, which ones don't, but we do know that all of these people, as of this current point in time, on recording this, and we're recording this an obscene hour in the morning, the night after everything that went down, so hopefully there hasn't been any more casualties while you're listening to this, although I wouldn't bet on it. But Carl Wilkinson has the current list of individuals that unfortunately are no longer employed by World Wrestling Entertainment.
I do. I went on I do gotta give a shout out to Cultaholic because they were following it religiously, so I just kind of...
Okay, as if this podcast couldn't get any more depressing. You have to mention them wank pheasants over there. I'm sorry, this is good. Do you know what? Let's just get in there because it's going to be a miserable podcast anyway. I don't think Cultaholic is very good. Gets on my tits. The only person I found entertaining from the original fucking load of What Culture was Adam Blompier, and it turns out that he likes to send some rather nefarious DMs. So it is what it is. I don't like Cultaholic, and the fact that you would come on this podcast and within 3 minutes mention them as your source means that you are officially fired. You can join everyone else on the unemployment list, you scum. You are the only person who deserves to lose a job today.
I mean, fair enough, but you know, I don't even care. They were following the list, and I have the list right in front of me.
There's only one list I follow.
I mean, I don't think it's called the List of Jericho anymore. I don't remember what he calls it.
It's called the Lexicon of Le Champion.
That's it. See, I knew you would remember because
of course I would. I remember everything. Well, I'm the boss, and also I am weirdly autistic.
I mean, hey, that's fair. I'm not sure where to go with that. So let's just move on to this list.
I'm not touching that, Margo.
It's a doozy. So I'm going to start with the most heartbreaking one for me, only because his Twitter video was just...
Oh, mate. No way, Jose, bruv. That broke my soul.
That destroyed me, man. But we got to start with Drake Maverick. That... if you haven't seen the post on his Twitter, you should go find it.
Tell you what we'll do. We'll splice it in right now. So here is, unfortunately, and it is quite upsetting. So if you're not, you try and skip forward 2 minutes 20, which I believe is how long it was. But here's Drake Maverick on being released from WWE.
So I just got off the phone with WWE Talent Relations' Mark Carano, that has told me that as of today, I have been released from my WWE contract due to the current climate with what's going on in the world, and I'm like everybody else where I probably didn't take this as seriously as it is at the beginning, but it's affecting people's lives, it's affecting people's jobs, it's affecting the way people make a living. I'm very fortunate that WWE are still allowing me to compete in the NXT Interim Cruiserweight title tournament. But it's very likely that those will be the last matches I ever have. There's a lot of people I'm not going to get a chance to say goodbye to that I really loved and I really cared about. That made me a better person. And again, I'm very fortunate that I still get that. Other people won't get that. But if these are the last three matches I have, I just want everybody watching at home to know that you'll have my all. You'll have everything. It's not about a title anymore. It's about my life. It's about feeding my family, paying my bills. So if I don't make an impression, if I don't win, that's it for me. So I just want everybody to know that you're all going to get everything I have.
A few other people I think have posted videos, but for the most part, I'm just going to kind of run the list down for you guys right now. So we have.
It's depressing enough.
It is. So if there are tag teams, I'm just going to put them together. It's a little easier that way. So Hawkins and Ryder are both gone. That upsets me. I've always been a big Zack Ryder fan, but I'll stop giving you opinions. We can kind of do that afterwards.
They're going to get them in a minute. So run down the list and we'll get to it.
So yeah, Hawkins and Ryder, the Good Brothers are both gone. Heath Slater, Aiden English, Eric Young, EC3, Leo Rush, Kurt Angle. That one really surprised me. Sarah Logan, another surprise, I suppose. Referee Mike Chioda, who's been with the company since 1989. Wow.
Jesus.
The Colognes are both gone. Rowan's gone. Mike and Maria Kanellis are gone. No Way Jose, Rusev, Deonna Purrazzo, and Alexander Jaksic. I'm not sure who that is. That's actually a name I've never heard before.
That's gone over my head.
Yeah, and then there were a few agents and stuff that were apparently furloughed. So I'm not sure if they're actually let go, but they've been kind of, temporarily let go for the time being. So that list is Fit Finlay, the guy who pretty much constructed the women's division to where it is now. Again, opinions we'll do after. I get carried away here.
Yes,
Lance Storm, Mike Rotunda, Shane Helms, Scott Armstrong, Pat Buck, Sarah Stock. I don't know those last two. Sean Devari and Billy Kidman. Those are all like the backstage personnel that have been let go or furloughed or whatever the hell it is. And one more. This person was let go. Her name was Andrea Lissenberger, and apparently she was heavily involved in the Otis and Mandy storyline. And she wasn't furloughed; she was let go.
Wow.
So that's Jesus Christ.
Thanks for giving us the only relatively good storyline in the past year. Now go fuck yourself. Where do we want to attack this? So Miles Kane sent in a question, which I really appreciate, Miles, and we will get to your question in a moment. Thank you very much, sir. And we'll give him a shout out on his social media. A really cool listener to the podcast, new listener as well. Really grateful to have you on board for our crazy adventure, and I hope you're enjoying it as much as you can in such a difficult climate, my friend. So looking at this list of people, now I'm not going to sit here and say that every single one of these individuals should have kept a job in WWE. And I'm not saying that because before people go fucking ape, that's not because I want them to be unemployed, but because I believe a certain number of these individuals, frankly, were not being used by WWE, had no place being in WWE, and could quite easily go somewhere else. Now, I understand, and we have discussed this at length over the 3 years of this podcast, about the comfort levels that employees have. Now, obviously, this is nothing to do with comfort levels. This comes down to what do you know, what do you not know, and what are the current facts. Now, the facts are this. Every company around the world is having to take drastic measures to try and contain themselves in a difficult market and climate. There is an inability to afford to keep anything but the most essential of employees. Okay? With that being said, WWE has some fucking nerve. I guarantee everyone's thinking, oh God, he's going to defend this decision. Now, I don't know the full facts. So I think it would be really disingenuous and really dishonest to come out here and say, fuck WWE based solely on this premise, because we don't know, how the money is distributed. People are saying, oh, they've got 500 million in the bank and sitting around. Like, in spare cash, how do we know that to be true? I haven't seen any sources that completely confirm that. It's all very well saying they made an operating profit cost, but what we forget is the different operating costs that go into a business. So I'm not prepared to burn them to the ground for this alone. However, I have to say, and I've seen this on social media today, there are a lot of you out there, people who are friends of mine as well, so it's not just people I dislike, talking about how Vince is scum, WWE have gone too far, oh, this disappoints me, I'm cancelling the WWE network. First of all, how in God's name does restricting what you pay to WWE help out the employees that are still there, the people that you still love that are still there, okay? That's just one thing. Cancel it for a decent reason other than because you're outraged at Vince McMahon. Because whether you like it or not, a certain degree of that money that you pay for the network will still end up being afforded to the wrestlers that you love, even if it is an obscenely tiny percentage. And also, why are you all fucking surprised now that Vince McMahon and WWE act like scum and don't care about the interests of their employees? Have you not seen literally every wrestling documentary since birth? Have we learnt nothing from Survivor Series 97? That was 23 years ago. 23 years ago. That, for me, was the first really high-profile moment where we realised, holy shit, the McMahon family, and particularly Vince McMahon, the boss and owner of WWE, is a fucking grade-A piece of shit. And now you're all up in arms. Where the fuck was all this rage, years ago? And also these people tweeting out, I'm not going to name names because like I say, some people are my friends, but I'm more than happy to fucking attack you head on or say this to your face. If you're out there tweeting about, oh, now more than ever, we should be supporting Impact, we should be supporting AEW, we should be supporting our independent wrestling. You've had the opportunity to do that for the better part of 20 years as pertains to independent wrestling, if not more. Don't fucking bury your heads in the sand just because it's been successful for the last 3 years and pretend that there weren't people like Jody Fleisch, Doug Williams and the like out here, not to mention over in America, places like, people like Chris Hero, CM Punk, Samoa Joe, Danny Bryan, those guys were giving their fucking souls to the indie scene well before it was a big thing. They were working in front of 25 people for a fucking sack of potatoes and a fucking hand job. But you cunts want to fucking act as if all of a sudden now we need to protect our precious indie stars. Fuck you. Impact has been working its fucking bollocks off for years to make itself a viable alternative, to make itself a credible company. They have produced so many talents that you take for granted. You're all up in arms today about the fact that EC3 got released. EC3 was a star well before he got to WWE, but you've all got your fucking heads up your asses as per usual, and you're pretending that other companies don't exist. I see it from all of you. The same people who I see live tweeting WWE every day and acting as if, oh, WWE is amazing. These same people, right? What is it? What's it been, a week since WrestleMania? Just over a week and a half? And
yeah, give or take.
Yeah, and these same motherfuckers were on Twitter and social media go, oh, isn't it wonderful that even in this hard time, WWE is giving us WrestleMania? It's funny how you weren't up in arms then, but you're up in arms now. And there's also, this goes hand in hand with the news of the essential media. Do you know what fucks me off? It's the hypocrisy and the contradictory nature of this. That's what really fucks me off. Because yes, you have a right to be angry. Yes, you have a right to support your indies, but you have also had that fucking right for years. So where the fuck were you the last 3 years? This podcast, literally from the get-go, has been screaming about how great British independent wrestling is. We cover Reach extensively. We covered Battle Pro. We've covered Progress. We've covered Rev Pro. We've covered numerous companies. Not all of those companies are big fans of us, but ultimately we've covered them all. WrestleForce. We pretty much covered every major independent wrestling promotion we can over here. We've even covered things like Destiny Wrestling in Canada, NJPW, Stardom, Ice Ribbon. The list goes on and on and on. We covered the Mae Young Classic. We screamed about having a women's main event well before time. What fucks me off is the amount of people who aren't proactive. All you fucking whingy little twats want to take to social media today and you want to fucking cry your eyes out about, we need to, all these fucking little social media, little keyboard warrior cunts. They're all on fucking social media today talking about, I think, I'm morally superior. I think we should support our local independent promotions. What about those fucking people who have worked their fucking asses off for 20, 30 years to provide you with entertainment on the independents, but you were too busy wanking yourself off in your fucking mum's basement because you can't afford to rent your own place, and you want to fucking sit there now and complain about this shit when you've had every opportunity to for years? Where the fuck were you people when Ashley Mazzaro had problems? Where the fuck were you people when Bret Hart was completely stitched? Where the fuck were all of you people when all of these things happened, whether it be Jimmy Snooker? Look at them all with the dark side of the ring. They're all lapping it up now on social. Oh my God, I didn't realise how shit wrestling was. Really? Then you must have had your head so far up your asshole you could sniff your own lungs. It's fucking embarrassing. You should be ashamed of yourself that you haven't been proactive until now. You should be ashamed of yourselves that you haven't tried to be part of a movement from the get-go. Do you know how a revolution works? When we all band together and work hard and push back on a system. But you've got to wait until the ultimate. You've got to wait until all of your favourites, until so many great people like Heath Slater, like Drake Maverick, like EC3, like all of these people, the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. I've lost count of how many years they have entertained the fuck out of me. And we have made a point of supporting them from the get-go. But all of you out there, and it's not everyone, to be fair, and a lot of our listeners are fantastic and have always been proactive, but all these fucking pricks who are too scared to fucking have their peace because they're worried about social media backlash, which is horseshit, because let's be honest, no fucking useless mark cunt on the internet is going to do fuck all about what we have to say. You're not going to shut me up. You're not going to come to my house, because if you do, I'll kick the fucking shit out of you. Simply put, if you fucking care so much about wrestling, why did you not care until now? That's what fucking winds me up the most about this. All these fucking people in outcry. Revolutions start at the beginning, not when it suits you.
Well, I don't think I can say much more than that. I can just kind of elaborate a little bit.
Furious.
I mean, it's completely understandable, right? Like, when I was younger, obviously, the independent scene I wasn't completely aware of, when Ring of Honor was a thing. When it was kind of like the early 2000s, I had no fucking idea. I barely knew that, as it was known back then, NWA TNA was a thing. When I was a kid, WWE was it. WCW was around for a while, whatever. But as a kid, the WWE had the monopoly. They were the biggest and only horse in the race. But now, in the year of our Lord, 2020, or your Lord, I'm not religious, but we'll get into that later. There are so many places that you can get wrestling from. I've heard so many great things about the British independent scene. Whenever this quarantine is over, I'm making my way across the pond. I'm going to visit the boss Aaron, and we're going to go see some British indie wrestling, and it's going to blow my fucking tits off. I'm so fucking excited to that. That's what gets me through the day. It's like, man, I'm going to meet this guy for the first time in person. We're going to go watch some wrestling, and we're going to have a fucking good time. And just people go around, yeah, fuck WWE, I'm going to go support some indie wrestling now. They could have used your support way before this. Hell, some places probably don't even need people like you because they have the ridiculously faithful fans they've had since the beginning. They don't need any fucking bandwagoners jumping on and just going, yeah, this is great. Wow, this is amazing. I can't believe I didn't watch you before. No sort of small... No, they're not even small anymore. No independent promotion needs bitch fans like you. So, oh, man, you're getting me all hot and steamy now, and not in the good way.
It just aggravates me. I hate people who aren't proactive. that just sit there and wait for something to happen. Do you know what these kind of people are? They're the kind of people who see somebody getting assaulted in the street, wait for them to get the shit kicked out of them, then they fucking cry about it afterwards and say how much of a monstrosity and a horror it was. No, be a fucking man, be a fucking woman, be an adult, be a fucking revolutionary. Get off your fucking lazy cunting ass and fucking help people right at the beginning. Don't fucking sit there and cry about it afterwards, because it's so easy for you to go on social media and have a whinge. It fucking winds me up. The same people who tweet out about, oh, isn't it horrible that, you know, the whales are being destroyed by all this plastic? What, it's taken us this long to realise plastic should be recycled? How thick are you cunts? You really annoy me. You wonder why so many people are so angry all the time. You wonder why people hate this fucking world so much. It's because of this reactive horseshit. And what is social media's great response to all these amazing superstars losing their job? Oh, well, do you know what? Other people get paid shitloads, so let's fire them. If we got rid of Brock Lesnar and Goldberg and everyone who gets paid good money, then all of these people could survive. Literally, I cannot honestly begin to describe how fucking stupid you must be if you have that opinion. Brock Lesnar, right? Of course he gets overpaid. But do you know why Brock Lesnar gets a lot of money? Because Brock Lesnar makes a shit ton of money. And do you know, this is just an right, I'm poor too. But I'm not going to sit here and shit on capitalism just because I haven't been able to afford the opportunities yet to make as much money. That's why I'm out here working day and night on this podcast, trying to get it off the ground, providing content at the expense of not only my health at times, but also any real form of sleep. And you know why I do it? Because I love it, because I'm creative, and because when it's all said and done, I'm making some sort of mark. But these people who are like, oh, well, fuck all these rich people. Oh, this is just another fine example of capitalism. Okay, great. So let me ask you a question, Mr. Liberal, because I'm not liberal and I'm not conservative either. I am a human fucking being and I don't need a stupid fucking label like you cunts do to feel like I'm acceptable in society. Let me ask you a question, Mr. Liberal, because I know you listen, because wrestling is predominantly liberal in your eyes. So when any of you motherfuckers take off, if any of you out there become rich, become successful for whatever reason, are you going to give up a large percentage of your wealth to help everyone around you? My fucking ass you are. The majority of people listening, right, whether they're good or bad people, I guarantee that if you win the fucking lottery tomorrow and you win $13 million or 13 million quid, or whatever it is, I don't think you're going to be rushing down to your local fucking homeless sanctuaries to hand over all that money to ensure that the people who can't even afford to live inside a fucking house, who can't even afford to eat on a daily basis, they all of a sudden, are you going to transfer wealth to those people? Are you going to protect? Of course you fucking well ain't. You're a bunch of fucking hypocrites is what you are. And then people like us, who speak honestly, who actually do things to try and help, who provide a platform for independent artists, who fucking raise money for charity, who go out and actively work hard and work for those charities, we're the ones who cop the abuse on social media because we have the nerve to tell the fucking truth. Fuck you people. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, I think we got a little off track, but I mean, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I'll try and bring it back and kind of
Come
see
on,
if I
Kyle.
can get.
Come on, let's see what you got.
No, I mean, there's honestly nothing more I could add to that. I mean, I think it's been pretty apparent to most people that listen to this. I hate people. People in general are pieces of shit.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to hate you, but you're probably a piece of shit human. That's okay, because so am I. It's okay. But, like, wishing for other people to lose their jobs just because your favorite person did, that's not going to fix the problem.
That makes you as big a cunt as the fucking so-called corporations that you claim are cunts. That makes you a mini Vince McMahon. How is that any better than what he's doing? And let's be honest, Vince McMahon has been a grade A cock fossil since the day he was fucking taken over from the day he took over from his dad, from Vince Senior. He has been a masterful piece of shit.
Like, part of me, I know it's not true, but a little part of me would like to believe that Vince didn't want to do this. That's obviously bullshit. We all know that. But a small part of me, right? Exactly. A small part of me would like to think, maybe like he has to do this because he doesn't have any other choice. Vince McMahon is worth. I don't know what Vince McMahon's net worth is. It's probably pretty high, but again, I'd like to believe he's not doing this on purpose. He's doing it because he has to, but it's a load of shit. He is a garbage human being, and that is just 100% honest. And if you disagree, you've got your head so far up your ass you could lick the back of your eyeballs. Like wishing misery upon people in a miserable situation makes you the worst type of person.
That's why I'm angry. That's why I'm angry, because of that.
It makes you contribute to the problem you're so desperately wishing would be fixed. It is counterproductive that you just go, man, Heath Slater got fired? Man, I bet you we could have kept him around if they didn't pay Brock Lesnar $15 million or whatever the fuck he was getting paid. That's not how the world works. That's not how business works. And you people are just... I feel like a really bad cliche WWE heel with the you people problems, but here we are because, and I'm sure it's not all of you. I'm sure some of you do understand, but a lot of people don't. I can guarantee everyone of you listening, both Aaron and I, we both know that there are people, you all know people that are just so dumb that they go, hey, let's fire all these top guys so I can keep all these guys on the lower part of the card that aren't being used at all. Like, shut the absolute fuck up. A lot of these people that have been released, I think they're going to be stars somewhere else. Who knows where, who knows when, but a lot of these people are still relatively young and have maybe not their entire career ahead of them, but they have a lot of like their bodies aren't completely destroyed. They can still go. And going back, just get me all fuming again, wishing for more misery. The coronavirus has been going for months now. I've been stuck inside my house for 6 weeks, going out very rarely to pick up any of my prescriptions, doing some groceries, all that kind of stuff, the necessities. And there are independent wrestlers, like a lot of the people I follow, like work in Destiny or with Impact and stuff, and they can't work. They're not working. And it's not like every independent wrestler just makes huge bank when they do these shows. That's why they wrestle, like the WWE schedule, sure, they're wrestling, 320 days of the year. Independent wrestlers are probably wrestling close to 350. I'd say they're wrestling almost every day to try and make their ends meet so they can get their name out there, get themselves known. And it just pisses me off that people can just assume that all wrestlers make enough money to live on their own private island. Like, fuck off. Just fuck all the way off.
Where's this outrage? Where's all this love and outpouring, right? For instance, let's isolate Destiny for a moment. Destiny Wrestling is an incredible company that works out. It's Canada's premium independent promotion. Do you fucking idiots really think that Josh Alexander makes mental bank? Do you think he fucking gets paid thousands of dollars a week to wrestle? No, he doesn't. Now, that's fine. no one's saying Josh Alexander should get that, or, you know, he works fucking hard. I honestly believe him to be one of the hardest working guys in all of wrestling. However, right, so on the flip side of things, let's have a look at someone like Zack Ryder, a man who has collected a paycheck very happily for a very long time from WWE. I feel very sorry for Zack Ryder for being released, because he has been a company guy and he's put up with a lot of horse shit, and it's very evident. And, you know, how dare you get yourself over, you piece of shit. Like, ultimately, he had a lot of potential and a lot of opportunity to break out as a huge star, and he was stifled by a company that was bitter about the fact that he had somehow made something of himself. Let's not fucking beat around the bush. The facts are there. Go and fucking read up on them. I'm not going to provide you cunts with a source every time you get butthurt by facts. It's pathetic. However, so while you're outraged that people like Zack Ryder have been released, and yet, you know, Bobby Lashley and Shane McMahon and whoever who makes a lot of money, you know, hasn't been released, where is all of this energy and passion for people like Josh Alexander and Ethan Page? Where is this energy for people like Chuck Mambo and Paul Robinson and OJMO, and the list goes on and on and on? It's funny that it's the independent wrestlers, for the majority, for the most part, who are out here not complaining too much and trying to get on with it and trying to make ends meet and just saying, hey guys, if you want to buy a t-shirt, help us out. Other than that, I'm just going to be getting on with things, maybe live streaming, whatever we can do to scrounge up a little few extra pennies to pay for our bills and whatever. But you're too busy fucking crying and bitching about how, surprise, Vince McMahon was a cunt again. All you're doing is feeding the machine. Every single week, that's all you people do, is feed the machine. Now, am I a hypocrite for saying that because our podcast covers WWE? Let's be honest, do you think I cover WWE on the podcast because I love WWE and I love Vince McMahon? Of course fucking not. We cover it because, let's be honest, most of you pricks want to hear us talk about fucking WWE. You want to hear us talk about wrestling. So what are we going to do? Cut off our noses for our faces? Oh, we're not going to cover WWE. Like, we don't care about our personal preferences. Me and Steve, right, for a long time, refused to watch Raw and SmackDown. We just watched NXT and AEW. When was the last time, until our YouTube channel started, it had been months since we spoke properly about Raw or SmackDown. We just have a fleeting comment about it on the State Wrestlers, and that would be it. Everyone has a choice in this situation. You have a choice as to where you direct your anger. You have a choice as to where you direct your money. But all of you have literally made a conscientious decision to spend money and push your money and your wallets towards WWE. And now you want to get pissy that WWE has exploited you, when ultimately you're the ones who will allow yourselves to be exploited. You must be able to see that WWE doesn't care about people. You must be able to see that Vince McMahon is a bellend. Nah, we're just going to wait until something like this happens. And also, this whole argument of, oh, you know, fucking Goldberg. Like, for instance, I'll give you an example. I'm looking at a tweet right now, and this has figures from Forbes, okay? And these have been fact-checked. So, last year, Goldberg picked up $3 million. Brock Lesnar picked up $10 million. Shane McMahon, $2.1 million. Tyson Fury, $15 million. Jesus Christ. Bobby Lashley, $3.5 million he picked up last year. Holy shit. And Cain Velasquez, $5 million. Now, the tweet argues that's $30 million that could have been saved last year. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that, well, first of all, none of you gave a shit about that last year. And second of all, there was no coronavirus last year. So were we all just going to fucking act in hindsight and pretend like, oh yeah, well, this applies to everything now? No. The current parameters of how we live have never applied since World War II. So anyone who's made money right now, are we going to say anyone who's made money from 1945 up until 2020 when a pandemic struck, are we going to say that those people are scum because they made more money than us? It's pathetic. We now live in a society, right, where we're so consumed with the idea of people hating capitalism and, you know, people making money, that we can't be asked to get off our fucking lazy asses and make our own fucking money. And when people say to me, oh, well, some people aren't afforded the opportunity. Yeah, they aren't afforded the opportunity, but don't tell me that you've never had the opportunity to get off your fucking ass and work. Because you have. Loads of us have. And just because it's not the work we want to do for our life's living, it doesn't mean it's not a job. And do you know what? There are a lot of people out there who, for whatever reason, cannot get work because they're homeless, because they don't have an address, because they don't classify under a certain horseshit fucking, whatever it might be, a dossier or a government, documentation that, they need to work, or a visa for whatever reason. Those people would kill to work even the shittiest job so they could afford to put food on their families' tables. But apparently, these people are going to fucking cry about Goldberg and Brock Lesnar making too much money. It's not about them making too much money. It's about us as a mass, because, newsflash, we are a collective and we make up the majority of the population. And if we all, in unison, say no, then those companies cease to thrive. But the same people crying about, WWE's, they're fucking bullshit. I bet they've all got iPhones, haven't they? I bet you've all got fucking big TVs and laptops and brands coming out of wazoo. I bet you've all got an Xbox or a PS4. The hypocrisy is hysterical. It really is. My heart genuinely bleeds for these guys and girls because they work so hard. Sarah Logan, for fuck's sake, what has she done to deserve to be tipped out? Nothing. But at the same time, most of these people, let's be honest, nobody gave a shit about these guys and girls even a month ago. But now that they've lost their jobs, we all want to fucking act like this is the most horrible thing that WWE's ever done and this is awful. We should have been outraged and fucking furious with this company years ago. Bray Wyatt doesn't say down with the machine for nothing. He's on to something. It really is. It's fucking sad. So let's move on, because otherwise I will literally sit here all day and I'm pretty sure that I've offended every single listener we've ever had. So boo fucking who. That's my opinion. You can either deal with it. You don't have to listen if you don't like it. It's as simple as that. We're not going to shame ourselves away from opinions just because it doesn't sit with the majority and all the upset and offended snowflakes. Sorry, but that's the way it is. Mars Kane sent in a question and he wanted to know, because obviously AEW can't just pick up all these talents. They work under a specific financial climate. So he's asked us where we believe this list of individuals should go if AEW is not an option. Anything spring to mind right now?
I would like to see Drake Maverick back in Impact. I think maybe both him and EC3, because I know how close they are in real life. Let them go back. I'd love to see EC3 and Rockstar Spud against the North. I think that would be fucking fantastic, because Ethan Page is one hell of a character. He's a hilarious guy. And I think him and Maverick or Spud, whatever you want to call him, I think they would have some really, really funny interactions while EC3 and Josh Alexander just stand in the back, stone-faced, being the, hard guy badasses that they are. I think that would be great.
Yeah, EC3 and Rockstar Spud. I don't think there's any. Some people are saying EC3 should go to AEW and tag up with MJF. God, no. Why would you want to water down how good both of those guys are? Keep them away from each other. It'd be great to see EC3 back in Impact. Impact could really do with that marquee talent, especially after Eli Drake, for me, took up the mantle of EC3 for the longest time as the charismatic, obnoxious heel, the kind of rock heel character that WWF had for so long in the Attitude Era. And I think EC3 is primed and ready to return, and he'd be fantastic returning with Rockstar Spud. The comedy gold that those two had in their original run was fantastic. I look at this roster of guys. It's very difficult to consider someone like Heath Slater working anywhere but WWE. I've never known Heath Slater anywhere but in WWE. And here we are. So Heath Slater, I would like to see him in NWA. He's a great talker, and he's also a bit of a country boy. And I think NWA still has that great Southern roots about it. It still feels like that kind of Southern Territories day of wrestling. And I think NWA could really prosper from quite a few of these releases. So for me, Heath Slater would be a great place to land there. I'd love to see I know the Revival weren't announced in this list, but I'd love to see the Revival have a match with the Briscoes or a rivalry with the Briscoes in Ring of Honor before they run off to face the Young Bucks. I, for one, don't really give a shit about the Young Bucks versus the Revival, because the Revival, for me, are 10 times the tag team they are. So I'm not that interested in that. And I just think once you've had that match, that's pretty much it. Like, you know, I'm looking at it. And yeah, the Young Bucks, from an athletic standpoint, are fantastic. But I'm not a big fan of their gimmick. I'm not a big fan of the hokey internet marquee kind of mentality that they have. For me, the Revival would be fantastic elsewhere before they arrived in AEW. Gallows and Anderson, I think, just they're so suited to NJPW in so many ways. But do you know what? I could honestly see those guys retiring, because they've done so much and they've probably worked very hard and saved a lot of money. I mean, you know, it shouldn't be forgotten that some of these people did make quite a bit of money in their time in WWE, and I'm sure they've been sensible enough to save it. I'm not saying that means that it's, you know, a horrible thing and that, you know, we shouldn't care as much because they've got money in the bank, because obviously they still have a right to earn as long as they want. But if I'm someone like Carl Anderson, who's got 4 wonderful children at home and a beautiful, smoking hot Asian wife, not to mention a good brother in Luke Gallows, and I've got enough money put away that I can live very comfortably for the rest of my life, I might consider calling it a day. It depends on how the creativity goes as well. But what alarms me is we're going to get a lot more names. I really, really think that we're going to get a lot of names. And I know a lot of people are furious with what I've had to say, but I am, you know, if I can just try and speak from a much calmer standpoint for a moment, I'm fed up with people pretending like bad things don't happen until they do. That's what I'm really angry about. Everyone's out here, you know, enraged by this bad action, but these bad things have been happening for a long time. And the coronavirus makes it tenfold worse because we're all stuck indoors. None of us can go out. None of us can do the things we want to do. My idea of a day out right now is popping down to the local Morrison's and buying some chicken thighs. That's my idea of a day out, man. Like, and you know what I'm like. I'm Mr. Active. I'm Mr. Outside. I'm Mr. Creativity. I'm always doing something. Everyone's always like, Jesus, what's he up to now? You know, I find the best I can out of the smallest things that I have. And it's difficult. And I think that a lot of people, including myself, I'm absolutely happy to admit that, are highly sensitized because of our situation currently. And I think mental health is a really big talking point here. And I think people have used this as an outlet to spread horse shit and bullshit and just terrible things. And yeah, it's very, very difficult. And I appreciate Miles Kane's question, but at the same time, it's very difficult right now for me to truly comprehend as a human being and from an ethical standpoint where I want these guys to land. First and foremost, I want them to be happy, secure, and comfortable. When I looked at Drake Maverick, that was not a guy who fears for his life. That was a guy who had lost his dream. I've met a lot of these guys. I met Rockstar Spud many times at FWA and different shows that I used to attend because, you know, like I said, independent wrestling has been quite a thing for a long time. It hasn't just cropped up over the last 3 years or when Progress came into fruition. Surprise that. And, you know, Rockstar Spud had always made it very clear he wanted to be in North America. He wanted to work for the biggest company. He wanted to work for WWE. And despite the fact that WWE is a piece of shit company at times, it doesn't matter to us whether we hate it or not. For these guys, WWE was their dream. WWE was their ultimate landing point. And I speak to indie guys on a regular basis. We have a back catalogue of interviews that back up our fucking credibility and our love for independent wrestling like no other podcast in this country. I really believe that because we don't have a fucking budget. We have zero money, and yet we still manage to work hard enough to get a lot of these amazing people on from different walks of life. And do you know what the majority of them all say? Their dream match would be to wrestle Charlotte Flair or Beth Phoenix or John Cena at WrestleMania. Not many people have turned around to me and gone, "Oh, I'd love to work York Hall." They obviously want to work York Hall, but for a lot of them, the ultimate dream is to be a WWE superstar. Because if you're a wrestler, when you become a WWE superstar, that is the pinnacle. Whether we like it or not, that is the pinnacle. And I see loads of AEW fans burying their heads in the sand. I saw loads of them today tweeting out saying, WWE is not the be-all and end-all. No, it's not the be-all and end-all. Not for you, but you're not a fucking wrestler. You're a sweaty mark, like the rest of us. You're not somebody who has dedicated their life. You're going to tell me that people like Josh Alexander and Ethan Page, if they had the opportunity, do you not think the North wants to work WrestleMania? Do you not think the Rascals want to work SummerSlam? Of course they fucking do. Because it is the pinnacle of the sport. Now, someone like Jimmy Havoc is amazing because he's actively come out and said, I don't give a shit if I don't go to WWE. And Jimmy Havoc is a rare breed at the best of times. He's an amazing human being in every sense. And he's a fucking vicious one, just like me. But, you know, he is a minority. The majority of guys, if given an opportunity, would kill. Will Ospreay was on Chris Van Vliet's podcast recently, and he said he'd kill to work a program with CM Punk in WWE. This is Will Ospreay, and this, believe me, Will Ospreay does not need to work for WWE. He is doing very well for himself, and rightfully so, and he's worked for it. But when people say to me all this, oh, WWE's not a be-all and end-all. No, it's not. But also, what you forget is, you're not a wrestler. I cannot stress that enough. Stop acting like you are a fucking wrestler. Because you are not. You are a fan. And it doesn't matter how intelligent we are as fans, unless we have stepped in that room and done the training, you do not understand the mindset of what it takes to be a wrestler. And I'm so sick of all these fucking turds going on social media and saying, oh, well, you know, I would do this, I would do that. Yeah, but nobody gives a shit, really, because you haven't got the stones and you haven't got what it takes to get in there and take one bump. Never mind, do it for a living. Believe me, I've been training for a year and a half now. I am in pain every day, and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining whatsoever. I fucking adore it, and that buzz when I walked out in front of 9 people on my debut was fucking awesome. So when I got to work in front of 150 people and win a Royal Rumble, I was incredibly fucking thrilled. Don't get me wrong. But you know what? It takes a lot to be a wrestler. So yeah, these guys, they've lost their dream job, and that's what I saw in Drake Maverick's eyes, man. When I watched that video, I almost felt like I was breaking down myself, because I know, even at an older age, what it would mean to be able to say I was a WWE superstar. You have to realise that even though we hate Vince McMahon for the most part, being a WWE superstar is the pinnacle of this profession. And until someone like AEW and JPW outdoes them, gets better ratings and earns more money and provides an even bigger platform than them, that will always be the pinnacle. And the only way we can change that as a united front is if we support our wrestlers wherever they are. Don't wait for WWE to come to town and piss you off. You have local independent promotions. Now, of course, none of them run at the moment. There are no independent promotions right now. And a lot of them are scrounging up as much money just to maintain their properties and rent and whatever it may be. A lot of them have to reduce staff. A lot of independent wrestlers have no work whatsoever. I'm not saying, you know, give your money to all these independent eyes, but it's the same premise. If you hate Costa or Starbucks or McDonald's or whatever big brand it is, there are options available to you. And if we all decided to use those options, if we all decided, you know what, I'm going to get my coffee from that lovely little local independent shop down the road, then you wouldn't provide the power that you do to these greedy corporations. They feed off of the fact that we're lazy. And WWE and wrestling is no different. The reason WWE is the best is because the majority of us are too lazy to watch something else. I'm afraid that's pretty much it. There's not really much else I have to say about these WWE releases. They're fucking awful. They're fucking tragic. I could literally sit here and spend an hour on each individual and tell you the merits of how amazing they are. They're all incredible people that have given so much. Sarah Stock and Pat Buck, I was gobsmacked by. They've given so much to the company. And I could sit here and tell you all about their amazing work they've done. Seriously, do yourselves a favour and give them a Google. Amazing people. There's so many people here. Fit Finley as well, like Carl says, pretty much single-handedly. Along with Arn Anderson, it has to be said, who is forgotten because of an unfortunate incident, but Arn Anderson and Fit Finley put an astonishing amount of working together to help boost and drive the credibility of women's wrestling. And it's no surprise that once Fit Finlay was let go today, Charlotte Flair's first instantaneous moment was to tweet out a beautiful photo of her and him sitting together, chatting and sharing a great memory together. At this time, you need to direct your anger the right way. And instead of using all that energy and rage to go on social media and scream about how much you hate WWE, maybe use that energy to help try and support your local independent promotions. Maybe actually fucking give a shit about the local wrestling shows that are taking place in your pokey little community sports hall. You probably walk past a poster every day and you think, look at that, cheap wrestling, that's not WWE. I go to loads of these pokey little shows in village halls that cost £5 to get into. £5, it's nothing. Absolutely nothing, even for somebody who struggles like I do financially. And I go and sit in that village hall and I see kids running around with their John Cena t-shirts on. And sure, a little part of me thinks, John Cena, he's going to bury everybody. But realistically, I just sit there and think that's really sweet. And for a lot of these kids, that's the closest they might ever get to seeing a WWE show. But for those kids, it would be just like a WWE show if we all put in the hard work, the passion, and the spirit to make those shows fantastic. So if you have a local independent promotion near you, when coronavirus is all said and done, because it will fuck off eventually, because as a human race, we've outlived pretty much everything at this point. Once it goes away, once independent wrestling gets going again, no matter how small it might be, don't turn your fucking nose up at it. Go and buy a ticket and go and watch those lads, because do you know what? Some of those kids, some of those, you know, there might be a 40-year-old wrestler now. I guarantee that guy has grafted and grinded and worked just as hard to try and perfect his craft as everybody else. It's a very political place to work wrestling. I know that better than anybody else. It's not a fun place at the best of times, and a lot of these guys will never get the opportunities they get because people love to fucking stick their thumbs down on their head really hard and restrict them from making it to where they belong. So do yourself a favor and support the little guys, because you might not like all of my opinions on this podcast, but I will tell you one thing. Nobody has put their neck out and stuck their chest out and taken enough punches to fucking serve up an entire battalion like I have to protect the little guys, the smaller people, the people who suffer, the people who really struggle out there. It's really not hard to buy a sandwich and give it to a homeless person from time to time. And that's how I equate life. It really takes seconds to do something nice for somebody, and a lot of you have forgotten what that is and what that entails. So, you know what? Don't be kind for the sake of being kind. Be kind because it's in your soul. Be kind because it's something that you need to do. Most importantly, yeah, congratulations, you jumped on the bandwagon now, but do what we've been saying pretty much since we have even known it existed. Support independent athletes, support independent stars, support true creativity, not the machine.
The biggest thing for me is like just kind of going back a second about talking about how a lot of these people, you know, lost their dream job because being a WWE superstar, it's the pinnacle, whether we like it or not. But a lot of these people, like, they're not much older than me. It's my birthday as of 24 minutes ago, so happy birthday to me. That's cool.
Happy birthday. Everyone wish at Kyle_Wilkinson a very happy birthday. Let's try and fucking get some positivity going. Let's wish this crazy Canadian. And by the way, he's working more than fucking Kenny Omega is in the moment, so he's now our favourite cleaner. So everybody get on and send him some money or something, or I don't know, give him some, any hot single women out there want to have sex with my boy, you know? Just give the man a handy J or something. He's worked fucking hard for it.
Like, well, we can find a glory hole on. We don't need any other sort of physical contact. But there's a point to this. Oh yeah. So I'm 29 now. Wow, that's good for me.
Fuck you.
But there's some, superstars that are younger than me, going out. Fucking, I think Sasha Banks is like 25 or 26 or something. Tyler Bates like 7. I don't know. He's a fucking monster.
He's not even, I think he's like 20, 19, 20, and I just look at him and think, I have failed miserably at life.
Yeah, I think he was 19 or 20 when he won the UK Championship, like the first time.
Yeah, fuck him.
Fucking unreal. But I mean, like looking at some of these names on my handy dandy list here, most of them probably at most are between like 4 to 10 years older than me. I know that sounds like a big number, but it's really not. So these guys grew up watching, WWF. I'm sure there were some guys who preferred WCW, but, it went out. WWF is all that was left. They grew up watching Vince McMahon's company. Their life goal, whether you like it or not, was to be a star in Vince McMahon's company because it was the biggest thing. That was what everyone wanted. And to see, there's like 30, 40 people here. I didn't actually count it out. But so many of these people lost their dream job. Zack Ryder was with the WWE for 14 years. How many people actually realize that he was with Vince's company for 14 years?
Jesus.
And, I firmly believe Zack Ryder is the reason WWE got heavily into social media because he had his internet show. He had his fucking Cousin Internet title.
Whoa, whoa, whoa.
You know it. Actually, his theme song's really good. Not his original one.
Can we also give some love to Matt Hardy because he was the very first wrestler to use Twitter and nobody ever remembers that.
Big shout. Good shout.
Man's a pioneer.
He is, and he's still going. But there are so many guys on here. Like, I'm pretty sure Leo Rush is younger than I am. And he was living his dream. I mean, fuck, Mike Chioda, the referee, he's been a referee in the WWF and E longer than I've been alive.
I was 4 when he first made his appearance for WWF.
He had been employed. He'd been employed by the WWF for 30 years. 31, whatever. And now he's been let go. Maybe he's retired. Maybe some of these people wanted to leave and Vince was like, yeah, fine, go. We have to take that into consideration that
we actually do.
Maybe some of these people wanted to go. And that's fine. We can't just assume that Vince is like pulling names out of a hat. He's got a blindfold on and go, who's going now? Oh, see you later, Kurt. I don't think he's doing that. I think some of these people did want to go. And so many people want to jump down Vince's throat. And it's hard not to because he always... the amount of ammunition he gives us to do that is unbelievable. But at the same time, totally believable because he's a crazy bastard. But if we have to take one thing away from this, let's just try and imagine that some of these people, a few that stick out for me, I bet you Rusev wanted to go. I know we all love Rusev, but he probably wanted to go because his last storyline, let's be honest, it did get better, but overall I would say it was pretty bad. I wasn't a huge fan of the whole Lana thing. And I know some people are, that's fine, I just wasn't. Hopefully, people like Eric Young, EC3, haven't been on. I think Eric Young, has he even been on Superstars? I don't watch it because,
what?
I
Is
don't.
that still a thing?
I think so. I'm pretty sure Ricochet was on it after he lost to Brock Lesnar in Saudi and then, got beaten by Riddick Moss, whoever the hell that guy was.
Oh, God, yeah, no.
Yeah, so
WWE. When I hear all those things, I wonder how they are still a superpower in wrestling.
It's just one of those things I don't think we can understand. But, folks, if you can take away one positive from this, just hope and pray that maybe your favorite out of the 30 to 40 that we listed for you today, hopefully that person wanted to leave and Vince is like, you know what? Fine, go. It's not going to be the case for most, but let's just hope that a lot of them are going to be able to go and express themselves the way they want to because they know their worth.
Yeah. We're almost an hour in and we've only discussed one news topic, so as difficult as it is...
There's just so much to talk about, though, especially about this. I know, there's a little more news in this, and don't worry, guys, we'll get there. But this was a pretty big topic, and if we didn't give it all the time it deserved, I think that would have been a huge injustice to everyone that got hurt today.
Yeah. Wow. Like, how do you transition from that? It's not like there's any other good news, really, is there? Quick good news, I suppose we should comment on it, just to try and fucking somehow parlay all this. Timothy Thatcher and Killer Cross, who is now known as Carry On Cross, did debut tonight in NXT, and I am thrilled to see these guys getting a push in what is an incredibly tumultuous and difficult time.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen a lot of Timothy Thatcher's work, so I'm pretty excited to see that.
Timmy! You've had to shout at Timothy Thatcher. He'd fucking murder you.
Yeah, from what I've heard and from what you specifically, have told me, he seems like the kind of guy that would kind of rip your head off and shove it up your ass and pull it back out through the hole that your head created in your neck. That's kind of what I see him as, being a hard ass. And then for all those people that haven't seen Killer Cross's work in Impact, or Caden Cross as he's apparently now being known as, I think his Impact work was phenomenal. He was there for a good few years, and that's where I fell in love with the guy. So he appeared on NXT and laid out Tommaso Ciampa, and I believe there's a sexy, sleek, black sort of stiletto boot, so maybe him and Scarlett will be together. I think that would be pretty badass. Yeah, right? Yeah, that's some pretty good news from NXT, which I haven't watched because since they went live, the network doesn't show it anymore. So fuck me, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to really understand because apparently the news is from sources that they've also said to NXT that these people will be paid for a month and then they will have the option as to whether they want to stay or leave WWE. So nothing really seems that, I don't know, nothing seems secure at the moment, but that's the case for everyone in life. It's not just wrestlers, especially with this going on. But I have to say one thing, I do adore Killer Cross so much, and I was one of his biggest fans, and I was one of his biggest fucking supporters and pushing him to become something special, and Impact did the day on him. There's no question about that. And the fact that he's not only found his way to WWE, but he's also found his way with his beautiful partner as well. But absolutely thrilled for him.
Hot damn.
So
she is a lovely lady, isn't she?
She is lovely, although
she's a lovely
I refuse to acknowledge too much of that because I don't want Killer Cross to literally stab me to death with his finger, because he probably could do so. I get the impression he could probably slice through titanium just by staring at it. He is, by the way, Killer Cross, if you're looking, right, Marvel, I'm looking at you, MCU, because I'm not a huge fan of Marvel, it has to be said. But if you're going to look for another natural progression for Colossus, you couldn't really go wrong with that geezer, could you? So, Killer Cross, make him the next Colossus, mate. You know it makes sense. And for anyone listening, we absolutely will bring you a podcast or a YouTube video discussing who we think should be cast in the next roles of all of those things. Animation plug coming soon. Oh yeah, spoiler alert. Should be good times. Good times. So, right, back to the negativity, shall we? While Ronda Rousey did have some negative things to say during an interview that she made, she also praised WWE and noted that she enjoys the world of professional wrestling. This comes off the fact that she was on Steve-O's podcast. Anyone remember Steve-O?
Fucking anyone? Jack. Steve-O.
Steve-O as a
should
podcast.
Have died.
Yeah, like, oh, fuck me, that's deep. Fair enough.
Dark,
I mean, it is pretty dark, yeah. It's pretty dark. You're not wrong. That's the really sad thing about it. But yeah, Steve-O has a podcast now, and if there was one thing I was not expecting him to do 10 years on or 20 years on from Jackass, it was to have his own podcast, so fair enough. Rousey had plenty to say. I love the WWE. I had such a great time. I love all the girls in the locker room. Running out there and having fake fights for fun is just the best thing. I love choreography. I love acting. I love theatre, live theatre, and some of the lost forms of live theatre. But I was basically part-time, and I was away from home 200 days out of the year. And when I did get home, I was so sleep deprived because you just don't have time to lay down. Rousey didn't rule out a return to WWE at some point, but noted that she would only do a part-time schedule, which is when she blamed some fans for not appreciating her contributions. Quote, So it's just like, what am I doing it for if I'm not being able to spend my time and energy on my family, but instead spending my time and my energy on a bunch of fucking ungrateful fans that don't even appreciate me? I love performing, I love the girls, I love being out there, but at the end of the day, I was like, fuck these fans, dude. My family loves me and they appreciate me, and I want all my energy to go into them. So that was my decision at the end of the day. It's like, hey girls, love what you're doing. I'm going to try and take all my momentum and push you guys as far as I can. Fly, little birds, fly. I'm going fucking home, and that was basically it. WWE superstars Alexa Bliss and Lana are among those who have spoke out publicly on Twitter regarding Rousey referring to wrestling as fake. Alexa Bliss tweeted, was out for almost a year, must have been fake. Quotations. Lana, who, to be fair, is probably not the best source when it comes to the credibility of wrestling being real. I have no words for her audacity to say fake fighting. If it's fake, why can't Paige and TJ Wilson wrestle anymore? TJ Wilson, I believe, is Tyson Kidd, if I'm not mistaken. If it is fake, why
yes,
couldn't
right.
Edge wrestle for 11 years? Actually, 9 years, but don't worry about it. This is a contact sport where real things happen. Yeah, very contentious. I think it's a work. And I know that upsets people. I think Rousey will be back eventually. I really do. And I don't give a shit what butthurt marks think. I love Ronda Rousey. She's one of my biggest heroes. She is, for me, somebody that I really look up to. I find her very empowering. In the same way I do a lot of incredible females. Charlotte Flair is another person I find incredibly empowering. I find a lot of women empowering because, unlike a lot of men, I'm not intimidated by the idea of a woman being above me in a pecking order. I just think that real recognises real. And I think Ronda Rousey is, for me, one of the most polarising but also important female figures that we've ever had in any kind of sport. She completely transitioned people's thoughts of what it meant to be a women's sports athlete slash superstar slash icon. Her and Serena Williams, for me, have led that way. She would consistently draw more money than any of the men could in MMA until Conor McGregor decided to completely lose his shit. And let's be honest, he makes money because he's a colossal Burk, not because he's the greatest fighter to ever live. Because I'm pretty sure someone like George St. Pierre would wrap him up like a pretzel.
Oh, praise.
Oh, yeah. Oh, Canada. Anyway, we're getting off topic here, but for me, I think that Ronda Rousey and her amazing contributions, they, for me, are worth far more than some throwaway comments. And do you know what? Once again, right, who's getting angry about this? It's all the butthurt keyboard warriors who would never take a bump to save their lives. You know why you wouldn't take a bump? Because you ain't got the fucking stones to do so. Less than 1% of you would ever have the guts to get in there and take one bump. Never mind do what Ronda Rousey did. And Ronda Rousey had the best first year I have ever seen out of somebody who'd never wrestled before. And people can say, yeah, there's MMA crossover. And there absolutely is. Look at Brock, for instance, although Brock actually became an MMA star after wrestling, which people have so easily forgotten, although he was a phenomenal amateur wrestler beforehand. But Ronda Rousey is an incredible athlete, and all people do when she says something is go, yeah, but you got knocked out by Holly Holm. Oh, okay. So for all you fat, sweaty nerds, if I put Holly Holm in front of you right now and she kicked you in the face, are you suggesting that you wouldn't be knocked out like a little bitch? Good luck. Holly Holm is one of the most dangerous strikers to ever walk this earth. But don't worry about it. You know, let's not get the facts in the way of a really good butthurt story about marks. You're all being worked. And even if you're not being worked, why do you give a shit? It's not like she's on your TV every week. If you want to get butthurt about something, maybe you should get butthurt about the fact that Bailey can't cut a fucking promo to save her life. Or that Natalia's walking around saying, Charlotte, for the 15th time, because she doesn't know how to cut a promo, even though she's such a fantastic worker. Maybe you should be butthurt about the fact that Vince McMahon has clearly abandoned ship when it comes to women being at the forefront of wrestling, even though they clearly are still stealing the show in WWE, and they still have the best women's division in the world. By the way, anyone who thinks AEW has a better women's division than WWE, you are literally so delusional. I cannot express how long it would take for me to explain to you how stupid you are. That's all I have to say on it, man. I love a lot of the women in AEW, but don't sit there and tell me that Hikaru Shida is going to carry that division and he's better than Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, Kairi Sane, Asuka, and everybody else involved. Behave yourself. Behave yourself. I don't get, out of all the things that have happened, how people can still be furious about this, but they are. I'm just going to go on record. This is the only thing I'm going to say about it, and you can have the floor, mate. I love Ronda Rousey. I think she's beautiful. I absolutely adore her. Yes, I'm very aware that I am the spitting image of her husband as well, Travis Brown. People keep fucking pointing that out to me. People have actually sent me pictures of the two kissing. Gone, what the fuck are you doing with Ronda Rousey? I'd just like to go on record and say, I fucking wish. So... yeah, I think Ronda Rousey is an amazing woman, and I think her accomplishments and everything she's done to further the strength and empowerment of not just women, but human beings as a whole, that far outweighs some snotty little comments that were made on a shitty podcast by a guy who, for all intents and purposes, is a fucking lunatic as the host.
Yeah, let's be honest. I'm pretty sure Steve-O's got permanent brain damage. He did some of the stupidest stunts on that show, man. Like, fucking
Probably just
Christ.
from talking to Bam Margera.
True say. But her debut, was it 35 or was it 34? It was at 34.
34.
Her and Kurt.
34,
yeah, her and Kurt.
Yeah.
That was the best match on the card for me. I loved that tag match.
Charlotte Flair versus Asuka, mate, but that was second. It is funny though that the two best matches on that card by some margin were because of women. I'm just saying.
Wow, who knew?
Funny, isn't it?
I loved that match. I thought that Ronda did fantastic. And then, like you said, she had like a Kurt Angle style rookie year. She was Raw Women's Champion by, what was it, SummerSlam?
Mm.
Yeah,
yes.
I think she won at SummerSlam.
Yeah, I believe who did she beat to become women's?
Alexa? Was it Alexa?
Yeah, Alexa Bliss cashed in Money in the Bank, didn't she? On Nia Jax, I believe.
Yes.
And then then she lost to and then it was that was something else. That was
because
was pretty cool.
Alexa Bliss can like dislocate her arm, so when Ronda put the arm bar on, we just saw like Alexa's arm pop up, and everyone was like, "Oh shit, that's so gross." But yeah,
Money.
she won the Raw Women's Championship in 6 months, and I'll go on record as saying this: her drawing power, her star power, I think is the reason that the women had the main event at WrestleMania 35.
I'm sorry, but anyone who thinks that isn't the case, because do you remember when they kind of put Charlotte Flair in and everyone said like, oh, it should have just been Becky versus Ronda Rousey? No, there's a reason that they had all three of those women in the main event, because as a whole trinity, they were able to fucking draw the best thing ever. I'm sorry, but without Ronda Rousey, you wouldn't have had your women's main event. And that's not because Charlotte Flair and Becky aren't good enough to have a main event. It's because Ronda Rousey had the drawing power and she made the money. And this goes back to what was our first point, wasn't it? That it doesn't matter if you don't like the fact that people like Goldberg and Brock Lesnar and whatever, don't get me wrong, it infuriates me that these people make a lot of money. But the reason they make a lot of money is because they bring in the most. And frankly, I believe in a society where if you bring in the most money, then you deserve to earn the most money. I really believe that. And if I'm at a workforce and I work 10 times harder than everybody else in there, you're fucking right, I want more money than everybody else in there. You're fucking right. If I make more money for a company than anyone else, fuck you and your communistic values. I want the most fucking money. You know why? Because I've worked the fucking hardest. That's how life should be. The people who work hardest should be rewarded the most.
Oh, 110%. If I'm busting my ass and I'm like, this has happened. I mean, I still do technically have a job. I might be laid off right now. But if I'm sitting there, hauling junk, like working my ass off, yeah, you're damn right I want to get acknowledged for it. I want to be paid a little more than the guy that just sits in the truck when it's raining. He's like, oh, it's all wet, I don't want to work. And I'm out there slugging away. You're goddamn right I want to be recognized for the fact that I'm working my ass off. Brock Lesnar has been one of the most interesting professional wrestlers in the past 10 years. And I think, I'll be honest, like for a while, I did hate him. I'll be completely transparent with you guys. I hated the fact that he would take the championship and fuck off. But he's earned that right. He's earned that privilege because of how much money he puts in sweaty old fucking crazy Vinnie Mac's pocket. And that, you know what? Fine. Whatever. But Ronda took to professional wrestling so naturally. It was almost uncanny. It was a pleasure to watch. And I know when she had her match with Charlotte at Survivor Series after Becky got her face busted, and I know, like, you know, the look on her face, people, you know, were booing her and shit, and then she did take that personally, and then they turned her heel and did all that stuff, which was fine. I thought she was much more interesting as a heel because you can be a bit more of a badass and just a total prick when you're a heel, because that's kind of, you know, the entire characterization of being a heel. But yeah, stand by it. She was the reason the women got the main event of WrestleMania 35. The star power of her brought so many eyes to the product. The wrestling ability of Charlotte Flair brought a lot of extra pedigree to the match. And the Rocket was already strapped to Becky Lynch's back. So, like, people just bitching about the one-on-one, shut the fuck up. Maybe we'll get it if and when Ronda comes back. But would I care about seeing that right now? Not really, because Becky's really boring. She's pissing me off. And the fact that she beat Shayna Baszler in 8 minutes is a slap in the face to all of us wrestling fans.
Yeah, no question. A little bit of stat coming off your mic, my brother. So if you want to unplug it and plug it back in, that would be greatly appreciated for the audio quality of the Wrestle plug. Jesus Christ, the amount of news in wrestling right now is frankly giving me a bit of a headache. There's just so much being thrown around, but ultimately those are the two massive talking points from the State of Wrestling address. Is there anything else you'd like to talk about, mate, before we wrap things up?
I don't think so. We took an hour and a bit to talk about the releases, the Ronda stuff. There wasn't. I think we dabbled into NXT and AEW a little bit, but for the most part, the biggest talking points were the things we covered. If you guys want to hear anything else, you know, just at WrestlePlug, go, hey, what do you think about this? You know, we can give you a little quick tidbit on how we feel, be it in DM or just right on the Twitter news feed.
Yeah, no question. Absolutely no question. If there's anything you'd like us to talk about, feel free to interact with us at WrestlePlug across all social media platforms. And I know I keep hammering at home, guys, but I am putting an astonishing amount of work into our YouTube videos to try and get them out there. Not just because I'm, oh, look at me, I've worked out how to do a green screen and all that. It's actually because I just really love the idea of providing some entertainment and helping people get an escape. And even if you find me unbelievably offensive, hey, that's still an hour that you found me unbelievably offensive, as opposed to having to worry about something else that's going on in the world. So that's the way it is, and I don't compromise who I am for anyone, because you can kiss my ass. I'm Vince McMahon for the plug, god damn it. But Vince has had many a plug in his life. But yeah, if there's anything you'd like us to talk about, anything you'd like us to cover, anything you want me and Carl to have a good laugh with and cover for you on the YouTube, let us know. We're more than happy, because fucking hell, there's a lot of free time for us right now, and I really don't want to end up just dancing on my TikTok for 8 hours a day. That's really not what I want to do. As much as I am starting to shamefully enjoy TikTok, it is just not something that I want to dedicate my life to. So if you guys have any thoughts, any opinions, contact us, send us a DM at WrestlePlug, send Carl a DM, and most importantly, wish this crazy Canadian motherfucker happy birthday, you maple syrup loving, oh, Tim Hortons, eh? That's some really good coffee. You're gonna have to buy you a double for that old birthday, eh?
Well, I wouldn't mind there if that their happy birthday. I don't want to ask for something that nobody wants to give there, eh? But if you wouldn't mind just saying a happy birthday, it'd be greatly appreciated, eh? Buy a big donut, call you a hose, or we can have the whole 9 yards, eh? Oh, sorry, I should have said 2.3 meters there.
Why does Josh Alexander and Ethan Page not talk like that?
That's a great question.
Because that would make for an amazing promo. Can you imagine? Oh, those Rascals, they're really good wrestlers, but I tell you what, when they come up to the north, we're going to have to kick their bottoms, that's right. And then I'm going to have some Tim Hortons and a donut, and then I'm going to say, fuck you, buddy, because you're a bunch of fucking hosers.
Oh, but but we don't want to offend no one, so we definitely have to say sorry after we cut their shoulders down to that for that 3 count. But we make sure we put them down real nice. We don't want to hurt no one, Derry.
Sounds like the opposite of Hulk Hogan. It's like, oh, I pinned you for free. That's it. Whereas Hulk Hogan's like, I'm gonna kick out a 1. Fuck you. He's just, you can park a monster truck on me, brother, but you have to know that once I'm done finishing that bag of coke with Randy Savage and Ultimate Warrior, I'm gonna kick out a 1, brother. Do you remember WrestleMania 3, brother? Oh, brother, I went over to Andre the Giant and I stunned him, and then I farted on his face and pinned him, brother. Oh, brother.
Oh, Corona can't keep me down, brother. Don't vaccinate. Kick out at 1. God will save you, brother.
Can we revisit last week and just talk about how Hulk Hogan doesn't believe in vaccinations, please? Because that really was my favourite moment ever. Like, Hulk Hogan thinks he can kick out from the coronavirus at 1. Amazing.
I think if I knocked Hulk Hogan down, he wouldn't be able to get back up. He's had 12,000 knee surgeries. He doesn't know what to do anymore.
He'd be like Bender when he had his pet tortoise in Futurama, and then they had the pollution robots, and he was just trying to get up, and then he realised that the tortoise could rock, and that's how he got up, and then he opened up his asshole and had that humongous flame come out of it that pushed the Earth further away so it didn't die from mass pollution. Good times.
Yes, all the robots, because the smog was caused by all the robots or something, so Mom made them a whole island or some shit, and she's going to destroy them all, and then something happened, and they all bent over and farted and moved the Earth like 2 degrees or some shit. I believe that's what happened.
That's pretty much a synopsis of that episode. Can't wait to get Animation Plug off the ground.
Oh, you guys are going to love this.
Oh, yeah. So, do you know what? We'll just float it out there, actually. So, me and Carl, we've been struggling with all this spare time, and God knows I am putting so much work into the brand. And a quick shout out to everybody who's come on the podcast recently. We've got so many great interviews to drop. And if there is, for some ungodly reason at this point, still a wrestler listening, you are welcome on board as well. Please let us know. We'd love to interview. We'd love to have you on. We'd love to plug your brand and make sure that people know where they can find your merchandise and follow you on social media. And ultimately, just help you guys become bigger, because this platform belongs to you. But we'd also like to know what you guys think about Animation Plug, which we are considering as a spin-off where we will discuss things like Futurama, any animations really. Basically once a week, once every couple of weeks, we'll release a podcast where we discuss a different animation each week, whether that be Futurama, The Simpsons, the history of it, what it means to society, how it affected us as people, and also maybe throwing in some cheeky quotations and some good fun to go with it. But we want to know what you guys think, if you're interested. So if you are still listening, let us know. As I said last time, if you're still listening to the podcast, I want you to tweet me and say, hey, Wrestle Plug, I'm still listening. Let's see who's still listening at this point. Doesn't matter who you are. Tag us, you pieces of shit. And when we get 1 tag, I am going to have a little cry in the corner and know that nobody loves us anymore. But ultimately, make sure that you let us know and you interact about anything that's going on. Carl Wilkinson, happy birthday, mate. It's always a pleasure to have you on the podcast. We're really thrilled that you can stand in and help out and ultimately substitute for Steve quite admirably, because those are big shoes to fill. And I'm sure when he gets back on, he is going to unleash fury, because he has had way too much time off. But it looks like for the foreseeable future, you're stuck with the English and Canadian comparison that is myself and Kyle. So, yeah, we may not be the North, we're the Northern Hemisphere. That'll do us. And yeah, I'm very grateful that you've been on this podcast, mate. Thank you very much for joining me for the State of Wrestling address, and enjoy your 29th birthday. Just one more year, brother. Oh, it's the big 30, brother. Oh, that's when everything starts going downhill, brother. That's when I started becoming a basketball. If you look at my skin, brother, I used to be white, and now I look like a Spalding, brother. Oh, brother. I'll tell you what, I walked past Russell Westbrook the other day, and he tried to double me, brother. Oh, brother.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. But I would never call myself a substitute for Steve Neal. I'm standing in for him.
I thought you were going to say, I'm not a substitute. I am better than Steve.
I couldn't even say that as a joke. He is a better man than all of us. He is what we all should aspire to be.
No, he isn't. He's not even a proper size. He's about 5'2".
Oh, come on.
Fuck off. He's always giving me shit. Whenever he's got a little friend
tall as my
all
mom.
of a sudden, he's about as fucking... Well, that doesn't say a lot. And just like Steve, I'm going to fuck your mom too. No, I'm kidding. let's just get right in there and just bury everything. Nah, I love Steve dearly, but he's such a shitbag. But I do love him. But he's such a cunt. But I love him. But he's an asshole. But I love him. He's just...
You're just listing the reasons why you love him.
Yeah, well, but it's kind of why we're friends, because we're both unbearable, angry, egotistical pieces of shit with a lot of opinions, but we do entertain, and that's ultimately what we try and do. So Steve won't be around for the foreseeable future, and God knows he sure as hell ain't listening to this fucking car crash, and frankly, if you're still listening right now, you deserve a medal, and probably should be a guest in your own right. So, yeah, like I say, interact, and make sure you wish Carl Wilkinson a happy birthday. Carl Wilkinson, thank you for joining me for the State of Wrestling address.
Thanks for having me, mate. It's been a hell of a news week, hasn't it? And by week, I mean day, because all of this kind of really happened today.
Oh, yeah,
Jesus
I cannot wait
Christ,
until...
what a car crash this has been.
I know, I'm going to go out with the horses, look after them, and then I'm probably going to have a nap. And when I wake up, I swear to God, if I see that any more people have been released, I'm going to go and cry in a dark corner somewhere. But yeah, it is what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Just try and think about what you post, guys. Just try and think about your opinions. I know I've had some pretty inflammatory things to say on here, but ultimately, it comes from a good place. And I want people to realise that it is a fucking difficult time, and instead of marketing all that outrage and directing it towards WWE and using social media for shitty toxic means and shitty fashionable ways of slagging off people, maybe use that energy to try and support those people a little bit more. Send something nice to somebody, check in on someone you love, ring up a relative and see how they're doing in a difficult time. Try and transfer some of that energy into something meaningful. Go for a walk, ring up somebody who matters. Try and do something good. Buy a homeless person a sandwich. Fucking help your neighbours out with their shopping. Maybe fucking leave it on the porch for them, whatever it may be. Maybe drop a note through somebody's door. Ask them if they want a freshly made pie, muggle. Not that kind of pie rock. Settle down. And ultimately, just try and be nice. Because if you don't, I will come to your house and I will steal one of your pencils and I will draw a very nasty drawing of you. And then you will realise what pain really is. Because you will be embarrassed by my highly inferior artistic abilities. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to the podcast. I've been Aaron Nix, he's been Carl Wilkinson, and we'll chat to you very soon for more nonsense from the Wrestle Plug.